Hey everybody, this is Andrea Jenson from the Cash Flow CFO, and you're listening to the Cash Flow CFO Podcast, the show that explores the financial side of running a business for people who want to maximize profitability and scale with confidence. If you want to make smart financial decisions based on data and put more of your hard-earned profits into your pocket, this is the podcast for you. This episode of the Cash Flow CFO podcast is brought to you by the Cash Flow CFO. Did you know that on average, business owners have up to 84% of their personal net worth tied up in their business? Our virtual CPAs and CFOs, as well as accounting and bookkeeping experts, empower business owners just like you to make big leaps that help them maximize profitability and scale with confidence. Visit thecashflowcfo.com for more information, and thank you for listening.
Hey everyone, it's Andrea, and our guest for today is Elizabeth Purvis. Elizabeth Purvis is a master offers and messaging strategist and a metaphysical teacher teaching transformational leaders. She is the founder and CEO of the Seven Figure Goddess, the premier business mentoring company for magicians, coaches, healers, energy workers, and spiritual teachers wanting to bring their highest level work to the world by way of a high income, high profit business. Cheers to that. Elizabeth's been in the digital online marketing space for the past 17 years and has so much rich wisdom and learned experiences to share with us. I am so excited to have you on the show. Welcome, Elizabeth.
I am so happy to be here. It's just great to share space with you and celebrating all your people listening. I know you have a big community around this podcast, and I just really appreciate being here and happy to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited. You're one of my favorite people in business and life and all the things. And we go back.
We go back.
Yeah. More than one hand.
Yeah, more than one hand. I want to say like 2016 or 2017 is when you first came into our world. And, you know, you and I have worked together on all kinds of levels. And it's been just a friggin' delight to see you grow and expand the way that you have. And yeah, we're going to have a juicy convo here.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. And yes, and I think one of the reasons that I'm super excited to have this conversation with you is because coming from in the finance field, the lane of finance, right? The industry, messaging and explaining what you do to people who are non-financial, that can be an art piece of art, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not just very like, I have a widget. Would you like my widget? No. Right.
I always say that it would be easier if we were just selling widgets. I mean, maybe that's probably not true, but I do feel that way sometimes.
We would be bored to tears if we were selling widgets.
Right. I don't know if I could do it for
very, very, cut and dry, rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
And so that's how, you've really been the guiding force for us to, you're pulling out that messaging for what it is that we do. And you know what? We're not a cookie cutter financial company either. So it's like that added layer of complexity of, I can tell you one-on-one what I do and how I do it. And I get all excited and things like that. But when it comes to like, let me grab your attention with one headline to get you to read more of what I do, boy, that sure was a challenge for us. And, you had your work cut out for you.
It's a whole different way of thinking. And that's what makes it feel hard, is that it's like, wow, my brain just doesn't want to go there.
Yes, that is part of it as well.
Yeah, it's a skill. But I will say, and I know, you've seen this firsthand, if you're going to learn a skill, it's one of the highest paying skills. It is like, I say to our clients, it's where the money gets made. The offer and the messaging and the fine tuning and the dialing, it's where the money gets made. And so if you've got to spend, because we work with, as you know, we work with people who are already, at six figures, 100K, 200K, 300K. We work with the folks who've already off the launch pad. And a lot of them come to us and they're like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to learn another thing. Can I not have to learn another thing? And I'm like, Dude, if you just put the time in and learn this, you will be free. Like it really is, to get the actual skill of helping even just 50% of the way. Like you don't even, so.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you've been an instrumental part of our journey too, as we were going from the 6 to the 7 to the multiple 7s, and just, you get to a point in your business where you realize, okay, it's great to have a referral, business built on referrals. But if you're trying to scale that business, the predictability is not there.
It is not there.
It does not work.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yeah, it's really, and again, if you're entirely, and this is why my hat is off. And it was so cool because when you came to us, you were at that 300K and then you made leaps. You were like, we laid out the progression in an interview once. It was like 300 to 500 at like 1.5. I mean, it was really like something. And you did a lot went into that. It was so cool to see all the different pieces, not just the offer and messaging. But one of the things that I often tell our clients and just leaders who are at that 100K to 300K mark, if you've been doing it by referrals, then you got to roll up your sleeves and learn the offer and messaging. There's no getting around it, because like anyone will buy from your energy if you're sitting there next to them and you can kind of muffle your way through it and everything. But you will always be at a ceiling. And that's when you do have to kind of surrender to the actual learning curve of your, not just marketing and offers and learning how to language things, but your people, which is of course the driver of it all.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I can sit there and tell somebody what I do and I feed off of their response. I can feel their vibe and what they're nodding to and where they look confused. And so I can tailor the conversation. But when you're messaging, one to many, you really have to know your audience so well. And I think that's one of the geniuses that you have is, first of all, you have many layers of genius built into you. But what I appreciate so much about you is our brains connect because you have the engineering background. Yeah. We think very systematically. And so when you were like, this is what I'm putting down, I was like, yep, I'm on it. I got it.
That's right. Yeah, you were able to follow that.
So tell me how, first of all, I'd love to know a little bit like, 17 years in online, digital, in the digital world of messaging and marketing, and you've built an amazing company that you've done, and you're not just teaching this stuff, you've done it yourself.
Built it. I do it all day, every day. I really do. Yeah,
I remember like your old stuff, right? It's like, but it was so like well done and so professionally put together where I could see like the engineering brain. You were like, it's got to go here, then here, then here, and then move over here. But tell me a little bit like what's your background? How did you get to be the amazing coach that you are today?
Thank you. So it's really kind of well, first I'll just for people who don't know, what we do now. So kind of like the end point, like what we're building and scaling and growing and are committed to. And, and I did, just like you, Andrea, I sat down, I was like, all right, what can I do for the next decade plus? Like it's not the only thing, because like you're the same way. Like I got all kinds of things to do. But like in terms of this aspect of business and life, like what's the thing that I'm going to build? Right. And what I landed on, so I was one of the very first teachers of the high-end model in the online space. And there's more to say about that. But I've been teaching, leaders, as I call them, coaches, healers, people who are like masters of transformation, who help people shift their mindset and up level, and release the inner stuff, so they can create massive success in life. And I've been working with them for years, and I was teaching them how to price and package their services for years. And, always doing offers and copy and messaging on the down low. Like offers have always been out in front, but like I started in this world as a copywriter and learning the art of copy from, bro style, like direct response marketer dudes who I all love, who I just love them all, by the way. Right. But where we ended up after lots of, different things, because I've got the metaphysics side too. And I've always had this very clear picture of the two of them interacting, is that we now help these coaches, practitioners, healers, leaders go from the six-figure ceiling, as I call it, that low six-figure mark, to 500K, 600K to $1 million without webinars, launches, or sales calls, which means it's all organic traffic, right? It's all organic traffic. And our core needle mover that we use to help people make this leap is by optimizing their offer and message first, right? And this is one of the things that a lot of people miss. It's like, it's a whole big conversation that we're going to have here, but like all the tactics and the strategies, like I looked out there and I was like, who's actually creating a scaling system based entirely on organic traffic that isn't just in the boutique coaching, because we can scale to 500,000 by offering 10, 50K program, having 10, 50K clients. But I'm like, that's not what many people want to do either. So that's what we do. And I got here in, just a really interesting roundabout way. Like as usual, I didn't set out to learn about direct response copy and offers and marketing. Like I had a whole journey before this. I was an engineer. I have a master's in computer science from New York University. And in my early 20s, the first 10 years of my working life, or thereabouts, I did a stint at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, which is pretty interesting, before realizing I didn't want to go to law school. But I was working and putting networks together and working on some of the earliest social media sites. There's a site called Black Planet, Asian Avenue, Mahente, Community Connect. I was keeping those computers up and running and building that community. And then I kind of hit my wall and I was like, and I loved it because I love building things. I love making things and building things and putting things together and seeing how they go, And I also love creating things. So I thought that I was doing that, and I'm like, this isn't going to be my longtime jam. And I thought I gravitated toward actually the comics industry, and I thought I was going to be a writer of like young adult novels and comics. And I spent a ton of time in that world before realizing that wasn't the place. And that's a whole other interesting kind of fascinating story. But somewhere along the line, it's funny because I quit my job to be a writer, and I got this this gig selling direct response, like metaphysical products through the mail with sales letters. That was my first like copywriting job. And I'm selling these crystals through the mail and getting paid $1,000 a sales letter. And I was like, oh my goodness, And then somewhere along the line, I discovered, the online marketing world. This was in 2007, 2008. It was just starting. And I'm like, holy smokies. Like, you mean that I can actually have like a email list and I can send messages to the email list and then money comes in? Like, where do I sign?
The mailbox money.
Right. Mailbox money. And that's where everyone online at the time was, like hardcore direct response marketers who were like, whoa, this is a new channel. Yeah. But there was something that was really, and I just was like, my first 2 years I was in a lot of cognitive dissonance because I thought I was going to be writing New York Times bestselling like young adult novels. And I had a whole community around me. And I was like, they're all going to think I'm a whack. No, they're going to think I'm crazy. But I couldn't shake it. I was like, holy cow. Because the metaphysics part of me, the magician part of me was like, this is like a magical tool. This is like a tool for creating your reality. Mm-hmm. Wow. So I really, and I was floundering for a while before I had my own kind of like make money from nothing sort of story. And I was like, holy smokes, this is like manifesting in disguise too. And so as soon as that happened, I won't tell the whole story, but like I made a bunch of money out of basically by applying myself and saying, all right, I'm going to sell this at this time. And then it happened. And I was like, okay, offers are my thing and messaging is my thing, because it happened because I was like the actual how of it, like how the money actually happened, right? How I went from 0 to 20K in sales with most of that in cash in like 2 weeks after floundering for 2 years was because I made someone an offer. And I sat down with someone in the sales conversation, just as you were talking about, and I was listening to them and I was listening to what they were saying. And that's how I got on the trajectory of offers and messaging. And as we went, it was like, wait a minute. holy smokes. And it took a while to kind of cross the chasm, I guess, because it was so early on and a bunch of different ways to scale and ways to grow your business. So when I got online, it was live events first. And then, Jeff Walker, dear Jeff, who I just adore, he PLF, product launch formula, changed the game, and then webinars to sales calls and all of this. And I started to see how the offer and message, how powerful it was to create results from nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, so I'm still working with the transformational leaders and the coaches in here. None of them wanted to do any of it.
Mm-mm.
They're all like, I just want to sit around and like do massage all day. I want to do coaching all day. I want,
Yeah.
I was always the thing. So when I'm, this is just like kind of a big overview, but no one ever wanted to do the big marketing apparatuses to create to get the sales. They just wanted to be able to have it be super simple. And so over time, and I had many pivots. So I was the launch queen for a while, and I was teaching them all webinars, and they were all hating it. And they were and I'm like, this has got to be easier. Like, I'm doing this launch, and yes, I'm making $400,000 at the end of it, but I spent 3 months planning it. And I'm giving away half of it to affiliates, and I'm out $50,000 for all of the expenses involved. Like, there just has to be an easier way. And I shut down, it got too untenable, and I shut it down, and I took a break to really develop our metaphysical side, the metaphysical teachings, and the manifesting stuff we do, and the leadership magic that we do.
Mm-hmm.
But I really thought that was going to be out in front, but I couldn't shake the offers and the messaging. I couldn't shake like the desire I had to really do it and master it and be able to bring kind of a new lensing on it. And, along the way, about 4 years ago, I discovered, in a nutshell, like that from one of my teachers and mentors. And this was in front of me the entire time. It's been in front of us the entire time, that when you have the offer and the messaging correct or effective, you can release so much inefficiency in the big marketing apparatuses. And he's like, you don't have to do all these launches. You need to make people an offer, know how to make these offers, and know how to sell them via email. And so that's what we do now. Like, I've done $400K, what I used to make in launches. I've done that from email sequences, and yeah. And it's because the sales journey is always the same. It's the same. Like, when we're sitting there having a sales conversation, there's a buying thing that's happening in people's mind or not. There's a path, and you can cover that path in all sorts of different ways, And as we were talking about before you turn on the recording, like, if you want to scale, so we work with, our sweet spot is working with people who are at that, coaches, consultants who are at the 500K to 1 million mark. If you want to move past that, you're going to need to bring some marketing apparatus in. Like, organic traffic is fantastic, but it's not going to take you to 5 million, probably. I don't know. Maybe that's my next 5-minute mile or something. But, well, I actually know someone who does 5 million just from Facebook posts. It's kind of interesting.
Amazing. Yeah.
I know it is, but it just stirs the point that when we optimize. So I along the way with all of this, I started to really apply my engineering mind to it, and apply the engineering mind to how your person thinks, because it's really like, human beings are incredibly predictable. Predictably Irrational is like such a perfect title for that book, and I often tell our clients that what we do is based on 10,000 years of human psychology. Ignore it at your peril, Yeah. So that was a lot to get through, but that's kind of what the background has been, and how I've gotten here, and why I'm so passionate about it.
Yeah. And also, I just think that's so incredible that there's the marketing engine, or the marketing methods there's all kinds of new flashy, all the things that come and go.
Yeah. All the tactics,
all the platforms, all the, those things. But what holds true is what you've really distilled, and what you have put in your teachings that you walk your clients through. It's like, it doesn't matter what platform you're on. It doesn't matter what, how you're getting this message across. You've got to have the right message.
Yeah.
And you have to know your avatar so well that you know how they think, how they're, what are their pain points that they're sitting there right this second.
Yeah. And then how to communicate that. And we were like, if I could impart anything to anyone listening in any business, any place, anytime, anywhere, it's that, your number one needle mover, first and foremost, is not your genius product or your genius team, which are very important, or your tactic. Like the tactics that I didn't want to do, they're all awesome and they all work. And there's a part of me that loves to noodle with webinars all day, because I'm a nerd like that. But they're tactics, right? And what's underneath that is the 10,000 years of human psychology. What's underneath that is the buying journey. What's really cool about the tactics is that people innovate and come up with different ways to cross the buying journey, but underneath is the offer and the message. And we were talking about this a little bit before we turned the recording on. The most successful business owners I know, the one thing they don't outsource 100% is knowing their people. Right. Mm-hmm. And you were telling me like you've seen this in action with some really very high income earners who are still talking about the she and the her and the avatar and those terms.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the intimate relationship that as the avatar is evolving, right?
Yeah. Right. Because they do. It doesn't stay the same.
The offer and the way that you're serving and supporting them changes too. So I think, how often does the business need to go back and revisit the messaging and the offer as things evolve?
So good. What a great question. So the first thing I'll say is, and this is going to sound probably weird to some of your folks, but for me, for our people, it's a really big deal. Go for who you want right out the gate. First of all, a lot of times with the transformational leaders, coaches, healers, they are often coming from that 100K, place, but they can serve people at 7 figures and 8 figures. Like they can change the game if they're able to match the energy and really hold themselves and to interface with very high earners. And a lot of them want to work with high earners or work with people who feel further ahead, right? So a lot of it's totally understandable why they might like want to go, oh my gosh, I'm not sure I'm there yet, and you get to be wherever you are. My strong encouraging is you go straight for the person that you want right away, because if you don't, right, you're going to have to change it again anyway. And it's a lot of work first of all, if you don't go for the person that you want right out of the gate, chances are you're not going to attract as many people as you want of the wrong people, because there's an incongruence within yourself, right? So that's the first thing. It's like, if you're like, I don't really want to serve this crowd anymore, it's going to show up in your offer and messaging and all the things. It'll show up in your team. As you know, Andrea, it's like your stuff is reflected in all the people around you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So it's just like, there's no getting out of that. So go for the person that you really want. And if you do that, that's going to eliminate a lot of headaches. And then then you want to look at when either the market itself is evolving, like your people are evolving, or the landscape that they're in is evolving, because industries change, they mature, or even changing and maturing isn't the right word, but like new things happen. There's new pieces on the chessboard. And so I will say this, for every single campaign that we do, or uncampaign as we call it, because they're usually just little email sequences, but for every little thing I sell, before I do it, I literally sit down and I ask myself once again, who's the person? Mm-hmm. And I ask myself, okay, what are their exact symptoms in this moment, in this context? And over time, as you do that, and your offers get dialed in, you're not going to have big wild swings. You're going to get it more or less what it needs to be. But if you ask yourself that question all the time, you will not be caught off guard by a big, restructuring of your person and redoing all of your marketing. Yeah. And I've seen it. So my answer to the question is every single campaign you do, I always start with who's the who's the person. Even if I've worked with them, for a decade, as we have now, we work with essentially the same person. And for the past 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is, we've been teaching this. But every time I sit down, I just go, okay, who's the person? What's up with them right now? And then that's how you kind of stay dialed in. And I've seen what happens when people don't do this. I've seen, I don't mean to, this is a little annoying to say. I'm sort of rolling my eyes at myself here because I'm not like a fierce style person at all, but like I've seen what happens when CEOs take their hands off the wheel. Mm-hmm. I've seen, I can see it in the messages that people send to me. And I've had some of my colleagues be like, I couldn't figure out why things stopped selling. Right. Yeah. And right now we're in a weird time where a lot of things that worked no longer work. To which I say it's always working. First of all, always working. Rules of marketing and offers and messaging are always working. But if we're not paying attention, then that's when we get into the, oh my gosh, you wake up and you're like, why is no one buying? Mm-hmm. It's not usually a secret why people aren't buying. And I think, I don't know, I'm sitting over here from my lensing, right? There's a lot of marketing people in a lot of different places and spaces, but generally for the work that I do, it's rare that it's an automatic shut off. Mm-hmm. It's rare that okay, I was selling on Friday and now Monday, either everyone's at the Super Bowl on Sunday and they're all hungover or whatever. or there's been a swing. Mm-hmm. It follows big things. So if we're asking ourselves, what am I hearing from my people now? And what do they want now? And what am I hearing all the time? And you're always listening. You won't ever have to do the big rejigger.
Yeah. I think that's so true. And when I think about from the financial perspective, our marketing budget, we have to stretch it, right? Because you've got some of I'm testing new things. You've got some of, I know this works and I'm just rinse and repeat. And then if you're not tracking all of that activity, you're not going to see the decline, right? You're going to wake up one day.
Right. You're not going to see the decline. So well said.
Mm-hmm. And so, as with every single expense in your business or investment in your business, you've got to be tracking, what am I spending? What am I getting back from this? Is it working? Is it not working? And so when we work with our clients, we're setting up all of these systems, right? So that it's automatically happening and you're just looking at the data, right? On a monthly basis. Here's what's working. Here's what's not. Here's the, as you say it so eloquently, here's the knob that I have to fiddle with this month to get it back to where I want it to go. Yeah. And so I think that's where I like the, each email campaign that you're writing, you're tracking what's happening with the results of this. Am I getting the right messaging to the right audience and things like that? And then that
and who's coming? So in the marketing side, and I think this is one of the reasons why we get along so well, because the financial pieces and the marketing pieces are both heavily based on the numbers, and the numbers always tell the story. They really do, and it can be frustrating. And I get that it's frustrating, and I get that no one wants to track their number. A lot of times business owners don't want to track their numbers on the financial side because we got all kinds of stuff around it. And then on the marketing side, we often just were well, we just want, the fantasy is that the people are just going to show up, right? Mm-hmm. But it's part of being in business. And what we try to do is make it as efficient as possible. But it becomes that way when you're really paying attention and tracking, and you can see the different things. And it's the same, on the finance side, micro moves are going to result in responses. If I send out a message and it says this, those words, I always say to our clients, the words speak to the person and create the response. Mm-hmm. So if you put these words in, that's going to have a response, and this hand is going to go up or not.
Yes.
Change the word, and a different set of hands will go up. And if you're looking at who is actually responding, if you're taking the time, and this is how we do it, it's very unscientific, very, anecdotal, I guess, but it's better than nothing. It's like, who is the person who's responding at this level? Like if we were much bigger, we'd be putting more money into this part, right? But it's like, who is the person? Am I getting 6-figure business owners back?
Mm-hmm.
Or and what are they saying to me that they're struggling with?
Yeah.
What did they raise their hand for? Do they raise their hand to build a business I can sell? Or do they raise their hand for get me out of cash flow nightmare?
Mm-hmm.
And
it's just, and I think too, like here's something that it's not a magic pill. It's not an overnight success, right? We hear about that all the time. But what it is like with any new system that you're developing or implementing into your business, you start small and you test the heck out of it until you find what works. And then you put the money behind what works.
Exactly.
Start scaling with confidence today. The Cash Flow CFO is a full-service accounting and fractional CFO firm. So it goes without saying that our financial experts are phenomenal at number crunching. But more than that, they are expert communicators who will connect all those complicated financial dots in a way that just makes sense. We don't wait in the wings and check in every so often either. With our boutique approach, we position ourselves front and center, watching over every dollar that comes in and out of your business as if it was our own. So if your business is making money and you're ready to take it to the next level, but you're not sure you completely understand your numbers, and you're looking for that trusted guide to help you build a roadmap to reach your financial goals, it sounds like we would be a great fit. Visit thecashflowcfo.com and let's get started empowering you to build and scale your business the way you want to today.
Start small. Who's the person that's going, yeah, I'm interested in this offer? Are they who you're trying to talk to? And then once you nail that piece, then you go and you put the big budget behind it because you know that, you've got the right offer, the right messaging, and you're trying ideal client that you want to work with. So
exactly. And that's the thing about offers and messaging is it's very low. You can do it very low risk. Like this is what I was just saying this to some group of clients somewhere. We're trying to think. I was just typing this or speaking it. It was in an email. It's so low risk, right? Like send some email to the people on your list, like see who's on it, send some email, see who shows up. And then the other aspect of this, of course, is who gets the best result in your service and really dialing in who your ideal person really is versus what you think they are, who you think they are.
So good. Yes.
And that takes time. But once you have that, it's like there comes a point, there's a point where there is a maintenance sort of quality to it. And you start to be able to predict things easier and faster. And then you can start to have it be a little bit more risky by putting more money behind it. And what I would add to that too is that, and this is something that it took me a while to wrap my head around, warm traffic is very different from cold traffic. So if we're talking about, marketing on the ads side, and I am not an ads cold traffic expert by any means, like that's not my jam. But as you're testing with your warm market, you need to make sure that it's going to work with cold traffic too. And the same thing is like small test.
Mm-hmm.
Start tiny, so you don't have this big outlay.
Yeah. And I think what's so great about this is, number one, it's fundamental. You have to, to be in business, you have to have this piece locked in, and low entry, barrier to entry. You don't need to have like a seasoned Facebook account that you can run ads on for 6 months before you get a result, or, it's just such a low hanging fruit. And I don't think that enough business owners put the value behind this skill set and this part of their marketing engine, right? Because this is the very beginning of somebody coming into the buying journey with you, and you being able to serve them with what it is that you do, right? Your genius. And
if you are doing this in a team, so like, again, because what people want to do is outsource it right away or outsource it too soon, or they think, well, I have to, because I saw a webinar in my Facebook feed that says, get all the clients you want with webinars or whatever. And it's like webinars to paid traffic that they have to do that or have to do that out the gate or have to do that as a beginner. But the thing is, there's like this body of knowledge about your person and your work that like starts and ends with you. And if you are, because I'm not saying, I'll be really clear, I'm like, you need to scale it out. Like you've got your people, like you've got the Dory, who knows your people as well as you. And I've got some people on my team who now know our people just as well as I do. Mm-hmm. That's how we want to do it versus like, well, let me go hire an ads manager. And I can tell you that, a lot of no shade to Facebook ads is a hard thing. It's a whole art form, no shade. And they have their own, they have their own specialty. And if you are hiring an ad team or something, like how well do they actually know your people? How well do they really know your people and what has to go into the ads? And that's again, if you want to really scale and use something like ads and have that be a part of your marketing, which is a, really solid idea at a certain point, then it's like that, those are the kind of things you want to be thinking about. And it starts with your work and your understanding your work so well and who it's for, and you can start that process, here today and now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So good. So much good stuff here. And I hope that like, if you're a business owner and you're listening to this or watching this, that, you're looking at it going, there's so much that goes into the sales and the marketing. And let me just start with the marketing, customer acquisition, right? When we look at, if somebody comes to me and says, I want to add, I want to grow my business by 30% next quarter, I'm going to say, awesome. Let's talk about, there's some data that I need to pull. What's your customer acquisition cost? What's your, budget? Are you self-funding this growth with your profits? Are you reinvesting it? Are you going to get outside money? What's your history? We're like, there's so many things that I need to see the data. Cause like you said, numbers don't lie. They're going to tell a story. And I can pick up anyone's financials and tell you the story of decisions that they made when they, I can see like if someone says to me, oh yeah, I got sick during Q2 of blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, yep, I see that you stepped away or you tried these new things. But I think that, having a system, number one, in place is super, super helpful for tracking all of this data. Yeah. But then, like you said, if you're going to bring in Facebook ads or you're going to bring in any other channel, you still have to know it so well, who you're talking to. Like they're going to come in and do the technical fiddly bits. They're not going to do what we're talking about here.
They want you to feed it to them. Yes, in my experience. Exactly. Again, no shade to Facebook people. I don't know every Facebook person out there. Every single Facebook person I've ever worked with has wanted me to feed it to them. Mm-hmm. So that they don't have to do it. Not saying that I think it would be really unwieldy. Like there's a certain point at which it's just not practical. Mm-hmm. Right. But that's the key to making those kinds of things really work really well.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So true. Yeah. So it's like you've got the marketing engine. All right. You're bringing in, you've got your right messaging. You've got your right offer. People are coming in. I think one of the things that is also just, you're so brilliant at teaching is the energy of holding and keeping that level of, because growing a business is not for the faint of heart. Like,
no, it is not. It is
goodness. That is not. Yeah.
It is not. Yeah. The energetics are a whole big piece of this, but I want to say that they work with the practical pieces. Mm-hmm. They work together.
Yes.
And so when I say energetics, I'm talking about, so I come from a real metaphysical background. So I can get real woo real fast, right? And I can speak about frequency and energy and energetic signature and vibrational patterns and all kinds of things. What I'm really talking about at the end of the day, like the bottom line, is who you be and how you show up. Mm-hmm. And not just like how you show up, but how you're able to manage your responses, your emotional triggers and responses, while staying in a place of leadership. And that's a big, big aspect. And that is absolutely required, not just as you're scaling, but with all of this stuff. This is another component to your offers and your messaging and your marketing. Because if you're letting your emotions run the show, and it's the same on the finances side, right? And when we're new in business and we're kind of like in the renegade place, or we're just like, I'm a creator, I can bring in 20K right now, which is what I would teach people for a really long time, which is really fun. Right?
It's doable for sure.
It's doable and it's fun and all that. But it's like at a certain point, if you want that steady growth upward, you can't have, or it's not going to serve those goals to have your emotions running the show, in that I want to offer this because I want to offer it, or I want to do this thing because I want to do it. And it also doesn't support you or serve you to get really triggered or get like totally off your seat when the ad campaign doesn't work or the offer doesn't work, quote unquote, right? Because it's always working, or the mess, or you don't get the results that you want. Right. So a big piece of what we do on the leadership side is how can you stay you can stay fully resourced as a leader of your business, no matter what is happening. Right. Because you're going to have things happen all the time. And that's such a huge part of it. And on our side, and Andrea is super familiar with our framework, which is called the Standards, which is about it's 10 keys or 10 energies or 10 ways of being to kind of flip on as a 7-figure business owner. And it's very much about putting yourself in this place of like, it's already done and this is how it's going to be. And coming from that place, again, no matter what you're actually seeing on the outside. And oddly enough, as soon as you start doing that, it's amazing what drops into place, if for no other reason that you have the clarity and you can see the whole picture. Because if you're off your leadership seat, and this is the cause of working hard too, I talk about this all the time. Like things feel hard, not because they're inherently hard, but because our emotional reaction to something is making it feel really, really hard. So this is another piece that I would just, whole other big conversation. You and I could do 3 hours just on this. But what I would invite everyone here, no matter what level of business you're at, because it doesn't change, right? Like it's the same. We're always dealing with our human, as I say. But I would just really invite you to notice that if you are things that feel hard, or they feel stressful, or they feel, whether it's marketing or the finances, because finances bring up a lot of emotion for people too. That there's nothing inherently hard about it. Like it's just making an offer is like right person, right solution, right time. Mm-hmm. And those things either lined up or they didn't. And if they didn't, there's always a reason why. And with the financial decisions, it's just, these are the decisions you're making. Are they bringing you toward what you want or not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're like signposts, right?
They're like yeah, exactly. And I would just invite everyone to notice where their emotional reactivity is taking them into any place that's not that. And this is not easy to do. Like you're an emotional human being, like we all are. But this is part of the first step is just noticing. Mm-hmm. The first step is like, oh, okay, I got the back out email from someone who wants to stop paying, and like there you're off on like a tear.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's like, yeah. And that's real life, you're like, oh, I got to go pick up the kids in 20 minutes and I got to deal with this. And I got, all the things. And
right.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to, like, if your recurring income is only set up at a certain amount and you don't have a lot of wiggle room, then you're like, oh my goodness. But really, this person just asked about, like, nothing else has happened. They just sent the email, and it's just something you get to navigate and and come from a real resourced place. And the more that's a whole other aspect of this,
That is, yeah. And I think too, like not getting frustrated when the messaging isn't landing the way you want it to.
Oh, yes.
Okay, I'm going to test a different way. Okay, I'm going to, so you're pulling out that emotional. It's not that they don't like you.
Right.
Nothing to do with you.
Yeah. And we take it to, actually, I mean, over the last year, I've really seen how business owners, my market especially, because I'm talking to my leaders, but I've seen how some of the things that they tell me, they're like, well, no one signed up for my last offer, so I stopped mailing my list. And I know that sounds like really emotionally immature and whatever. And like you look at that and you're like, what? But at the same time, if you're a small business owner and you've put yourself in this, if you're coming from that perspective and that's your experience and you don't have an awareness of the bigger picture or the bigger things, right? If you don't know all the pieces that go into making an offer work or not, or messaging work or not, it can really feel like a personal affront when someone doesn't sign up, you know? But you get to go, oh, wait a minute. As the CEO of my business or the CFO of my business, this is just data. And isn't that interesting?
Oh, I love that. Isn't that interesting?
Isn't this interesting? Huh? Right. And the same, what we always say to people is, and this is really true, I go to the mat for this. Like, if people aren't signing up, there's always a reason. Always. And there's only a few reasons it can be. It's not this, there's nothing is happening without like cause and effect, So you get to be, oh, okay. Something in my message did not resonate at all, or something in my message called forward peeps who haven't left their job yet, or whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, for everybody listening, is what 17 years of doing this. It's like, it's not, I love that it's not rocket science. There's so many pieces that are fundamental. And you just have to remember, like, go back to the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And also, spend some time in certain areas of your business that are more important than others.
Yes. Yes. I love this. And you'd mentioned before we turned on the recording, we were talking about how everyone's like, marketing is sucky right now. And I just want to normalize this. I feel like we want to put this on the altar for people. It is different, and you're not imagining it, and buying behavior has changed, and all those things have happened. It's a real, it's a different situation than it was in 2020 or 2021 or 2022. And that's okay. And like, it's okay because underneath that are the fundamentals, right? Right offer, right person, right time, messaging, moving people through the buyer's journey. Those things, you just have to look and say, okay, well, what's going on with this now? What do people want now? What are the things they're struggling with now? What's the different context for this problem? Because you're not going to necessarily reboot your whole business because people aren't buying or people are having a different experience. But you're like, oh, okay, Cash Flow CEO, we have to talk about this a little more, or we have to put the lens on this aspect of people's worlds more and share with people how our service is going to help them with this,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, at the end of the day, most of our offers, or what we do and how we serve our clients, it's multifaceted, right? There's different, there's so, like, I can hear 5 people's problem and go, yep, it solves that. Like, all of those. So how do I talk to 5 at the same time? Like, these are the types of things, like, you're just changing, you're changing what they're already, like, what are they already thinking? And you're just going there and meeting them where they're at and taking them where,
Exactly. I'll just give a little example so people can contextualize. So one of our things that we do, we have a program where we create what we call a 7-figure offer, which is a small program on the front end that leads to your bigger thing. Right. And the small program on the front end, and this is not groundbreaking model. Like, a lot of people have what we call the front door leading to the bigger thing. It's classic. We like to tailor this to our coaches, consultants, healers, and have them have a high ticket one that's easy to sell, blah, blah, blah. I usually sell, when I enroll it, I sell it as, this is going to help you fill your 20K programs without sales calls. That's the core promise. That's what it does. Build your pipeline of people who are ready for your biggie offer, right? Well, a year ago, where it was like crickets and tumbleweeds and everyone was like, oh my God, my sales are dropping. No one is thinking about putting people in their 20K programs, because they're like, how am I going to put someone in a 20K program if I can't sell my $300 thing? So I changed the positioning for 7-figure offer to be about, this is going to be a program that's easy to sell. And I started talking about offer principles to get more yeses. And then all of a sudden, hands started raising and people started buying, and, the same program.
Yeah. You took away the fear. That's like, you took away the unknown, all those things that are, like you said, this is not anything new with the way our brains work. It's like, I have this problem. I don't want this to happen, but I'm too
Right.
scared to say yes for it to be the other way around. And so it's like, okay, let me walk you through how that looks. And
right. And it's going to look different at different times. And if sales have dried up, first place to look is like, okay, well, how are people experiencing this offer? What am I actually saying that they're going to get? And do I need to shift that a little bit to meet the top of mind need now?
mm-hmm.
But it's the same, it's the same thing. You're not changing anything that you do. And it's magic. I got to say, it's so cool when you can, twiddle the knobs a little bit and you get a whole different outcome. Because and behind it all is your person. Who are you talking to and what do they want?
Yep, absolutely. And it's just, every yes is an opportunity to share your gifts and your, what you do as a business owner. And that is so rewarding. So it's like this win-win of they're getting the result, you're getting the opportunity to deliver the result, which fulfills you. And so, that's so good.
Beautiful.
I love this conversation. It's been so good. Like you said, we could talk for hours and hours because there's so many layers to this, and like, we mentioned in the beginning of the conversation, you've been instrumental in my growth as a leader. And, my company has just doubled and doubled and doubled and doubled and doubled. And it's been such like a fun experience because I don't have the emotion in it. Like my business is separate from me, and I've learned those tools, right? The stand are a huge piece of that.
I just got to give you major props and snaps, and why I just witness you, and because I hope I can say some of this stuff. You can let me know. You can shut me down at any time. When Andrea came to me, she was like, "Okay, so this is what I want to do," and she gave me her goal. And she's like, I need cash for that. And I want to be at this point at this time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, great, let's go do it. Right. Yeah. But I have watched you just ask the question, what does it take to double every year? What does it take to double every year? What does it take to double every year? And what are the conditions that need to be true? And offers and messaging are a big piece of that. Team is a big part of that. The offers and messaging is the foundation. But if we're asking ourselves that question, what does it take? And then the biggest thing when we were working together that you discovered was like, oh, actually the real needle mover is the energetics. And you applied yourself to that like nobody's business, like nobody's business. Yeah. And it's paid off. Yeah. And I just want to give you major props and snaps because you asked that question. It's a great question. I think it's a great question for everyone here to take. I'm asking myself that too all the time now.
Yeah. And it's constantly changing, at every stage of life, the kids get older. Okay, now what does this look like? What does this look like? Be available for, Right.
And the energetics has always been the piece that, it allows us to ask that question and really dig in there and then take the steps to actualize it, to bring it down here to the physical plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a big piece of making, a lot of times people will come to us and they say, oh, I want to grow at this rate, or I want to scale, I want to double, I want to blah, blah, blah. And the first thing I have to get clear on is like, what's your risk tolerance? Because there's so many layers of that. There's like, here's the financial implication of that. You're not going to be able to grow organically that fast. So we're going to have to go out and get funding.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable with debt? That's like a very tangible piece of it. But the other piece of it is like, how much can you stomach while you're testing some of these new, because, you can't just snap your fingers and have 20 new clients at 50 grand,
No, you got to have the conditions in place for that. Is it absolutely possible? Yes. You need to set up the conditions.
Yes. So, like, are you capable of writing that out? Because yes, there's a big payoff at the end of it. But if you don't understand all the pieces that have to be a part of that growth, then you're going to get a kind of like that water to the face kind of rude awakening and go, whoa, I didn't sign up for this. Well, yeah, you did actually, because this is what you wanted. So there's so many layers of that, and just being able to have a fast growing company is a whole. I could do a whole nother 5 episodes on that, right?
Because just I'll put in a little, I'll cast my vote.
Okay. Because that's the other thing too, is like, I'm building a team managed, team led, team delivered. And there's not just my energy now that's involved in this.
There's a lot to that.
There's a lot to that.
And that's what your mission called for. You know, you have a certain level of expertise in a certain context for a certain person. And there was just no way that you were going to have the impact or make the income that you wanted to unless you said yes to building the team structure.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have, and it's been so, like I said, I just, it's so enjoyable. I hear so many people like, oh, this is so hard. And this, I'm like, it doesn't have to be, it's just all about the way, it's about who you surround yourself with. And that's one thing I will say, that from the very beginning, I was like, I'm not going to figure this all out on my own. I'm going to find the people that have done it, and I'm going to, work with them and have them show me the way. And that's exactly what we've done. And it's just been tremendous. So that's my easy button.
Who, not how.
Absolutely. Well, Elizabeth, this has been such a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing, just all you're just a wealth of information and experience, and you found the way to make it easy. Yeah. I mean, 100%, I will say that, because I learned so much from you, and I was, it's digestible, it's actionable, and you see the results, and who wouldn't pay money for that all day long, right? I mean, there's so many other things out there that you're just like, I wish I would have gotten XYZ, And so anytime I am with somebody that has that, and it's the real deal, it's so great. So
thank you. I received that. It means a lot. And you were absolutely in the process. The offer stuff and messaging stuff will not work unless you surrender to the process and all the things you're talking about, and being willing to ride the waves and not take any of it personally. And, that's, I think, one of the reasons why I love it, is because it calls us forward to the next level of emotional, intelligence, maturity, which gives us all kinds of power in like all the other areas of our lives too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So could you please share with everybody how they can learn more about what you do and get a hold of you, and hopefully if they want to work with you, they can do that too.
Absolutely. So I'm easy to find. My two hangouts are email and Facebook. So I'm pretty active on Facebook. It's my platform of choice. And our website is sevenfiguregoddess.com. And that will probably redirect to femininemagik.com. We have kind of two brand names because we have these two sides of our business. Seven Figure Goddess is going to be forward facing, and that's our company, and that's the winner. We just haven't moved it to the newer URL, but sevenfiguregoddess.com will take you there. And you can get my book either on the website. Great place to start is with the book. The book is called 7 Figure Goddess, Making the Leap from 6 to 7 Figures in 2 years or less. It's geared toward leaders, coaches, healers, practitioners who are at that low six figure mark. But really what's in there is, that's just the context. Like what's in there is how to be the business owner who creates a 7-figure business. And it has our whole framework that Andrea has used inside and out, called the standards. And it's got some magic-y stuff in there, but it's very much very, very practical, and very much for peeps who are here in the physical plane making things happen. And you can get that at 7 Figure Goddess book, or just go to the website 7 Figure Goddess. It's also on Amazon. So if you look up Elizabeth Purvis 7 Figure Goddess on Amazon, you'll see it there too. But you can get a free digital download at 7figuregoddessbook.com. And that's really the best. That's the best gateway.
Yes. I concur. I love the book and the framework too. It's very practical. It's very, very actionable. And it's so funny because I have like all my printouts, all my binders and all the things. And I like it because like my brain is very, systematic, and you set everything up that way. So it just makes it so much easier.
Yeah, I really do break stuff down, and I break the metaphysics down. And, sometimes I wonder if I'm breaking it down a little too much, but I can't help it. I was raised by an engineering professor, and I, did 10 years of putting networks together. Like I really That's how I think, even on the metaphysics pieces too.
Yep. No,
and I'm always asking myself, how is this applicable in the real world? Is to me the point of manifesting and your co-creative power and everything is to create things here on the physical plane. That's what we're here to do. So it's
so you get to enjoy it and live.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you get the juicy life that comes with it. So I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll put in the show notes all those links so everybody can go and check that out and grab that resource. And again, thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a great conversation.
I can't wait. I'm going to share this with our community and they're going to love it. So yay.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.
Great blessings.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and review, and we'll catch you on the next episode. If you're looking for more content or resources in the meantime, check out our website for information, blogs, and our I've Got a Spreadsheet for That series. That's thecashflowcfo.com. Again, thecashflowcfo.com. We can't wait to hear from you.